Imagine strolling into an ancient library, shelves towering above you, and hidden between the lines of history are books. Old, mysterious, controversial. Books about prophets, wisdom, visions, and early communities of believers. But here's the twist. Most of these texts never made it into the modern Bible. Today we're diving into the lost books of the Bible, what they are, why they exist, and why different Christian traditions have different numbers of books in their Bibles. Buckle up. This is going to be fast, fascinating, and full of history. First things first, the phrase lost books of the Bible is a bit dramatic. Most of these texts weren't actually lost. They were left out of the official canon, but they were carefully preserved in monasteries, libraries, or ancient communities. Historians and archaeologists later rediscovered many of them, and today you can find them publicly available. So what are they? Well, they fall into a few categories. There are the apocryphal books, which were written around the same time as biblical books, but weren't included in certain versions of the Bible. Think of texts like 1 Enoch, Jubilees, Tobit, and the Wisdom of Solomon. Then there's the Pseudepigrapha. These are writings attributed to famous figures like Adam, Abraham, or early followers of Jesus, but early church councils didn't consider them authentic. Examples include the Book of Adam and Eve and the Ascension of Isaiah. We also have Gospels that are not in the New Testament. These came from early Christian communities with different traditions or interpretations, like the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, and the Gospel of Peter. Finally, there are early Christian writings like the Shepherd of Hermas and the Didache. These were valued by some early communities, but ultimately weren't included in the final collection. All these books give us incredible insight into the diversity of beliefs and debates in the ancient world. So why weren't these books included in today's Bible? To understand that, we need to look at history, not mystery. The formation of the biblical canon took centuries. There was no single moment when someone just decided, these are the books. Different communities used different texts for hundreds of years. Early church leaders and influential teachers tried to find common ground. They asked a few key questions. Is this text widely used by churches? Is it consistent with accepted teachings? Is it ancient enough to be close to the original events? And does it match the community's shared understanding of Scripture? Some books were seen as too controversial or theologically different. Books with unusual ideas or symbolic visions that fell outside the mainstream were often set aside. Other texts were excluded because their origins were uncertain or disputed. If leaders weren't confident about who wrote a book or when it was written, they were hesitant to include it. Politics, culture, and geography also played a huge role. Different regions like Egypt, Ethiopia, Rome, Syria, and Greece all had their own collections of sacred texts. Over time, as these traditions grew and solidified, their collections of scripture developed differently. And this is where things get really interesting. Not all Christian Bibles are the same. Protestant Bibles have 66 books. They follow the Hebrew Bible for the Old Testament and, during the Protestant Reformation, rejected the books known as the Deuterocanon. Catholic Bibles, on the other hand, have 73 books. They include those deuterocanonical books: Tobit, Judith, Wisdom, Sirach, Baruch, 1 and 2 Maccabees, plus some additions to Daniel and Esther. These books were accepted in the early Greek-speaking Christian communities and later affirmed in church councils. Eastern Orthodox Bibles contain between 76 and 79 books. They include all the Catholic deuterocanonical books and add others like 3 Maccabees, Psalm 151, and sometimes 1 Esdras, reflecting the traditions of Greek and Near Eastern Christianity. Then there's the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, which has one of the largest biblical canons with around 81 books. It includes texts like 1 Enoch and Jubilees, which aren't found in most other Christian traditions. So the number of books really depends on the history, culture, and language of each tradition, not on one single universal list. So what can we learn from these so-called lost books? They reveal the wide range of beliefs among early followers of Jesus, their struggles, their questions, and their spiritual practices. They show us the debates that shaped religious history and the incredible diversity of thought that existed long before the Bible was finalized. They offer context, not competition. Understanding them helps us understand history. So the lost books of the Bible aren't really lost. They're windows into ancient communities, forgotten ideas, and the evolution of sacred scripture across centuries. Whether you read them for study, curiosity, or historical insight, they're powerful reminders that the story of the Bible is also the story of real real people, different cultures, and centuries of thoughtful debate. If you found this journey fascinating, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling us which ancient book you want us to explore next. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring the pages of history.